rapper alive. That humble shit out the window. They know the vibes. So that little bitch you win when you sing.
I'm prolific, so gifted. I'm the type that's gon' go get it. See, I'm a lyricist mixing it with the minister vibe. In my dreams, I heard Nipsey tell me finish the job. My last album, me and my fans found common ground. But let's dig a little deeper this time around. They be like, Rich, why you be talking to yourself? What's the deal, nigga? I said, cause I need advice from a real nigga. They be like, Rich.
Here we are. What's wacky to us? I'm Rick.
I'm Son Capone. Hey, we back.
I could book the flight and be miserable.
We got a topic that was trending online. We just want
we gonna speak on it, God, as they say. And I want to give a shout out to my homie and my dope friend, Newbie the Ear Hustler, for bringing this topic to our attention, because it has sparked a whole lot of debate. And we're going to be talking about a little touchy subject. It's a little touchy. It's a little, but you know, sometimes you got to bring these things to people's attention. So a gentleman who happened to be of Puerto Rican descent made a video that was titled, "Why Are So Many Black Women Single?" And his response was that it was truthful. My own mother is guilty of this. It's truthful, and not just for me, but for many of my women friends as well, because black women are literally raised to be independent. Wow. Whereas other cultures, women are raised to be a wife, a mate, a partner, and to literally grow into being someone's partner. And that has, resulted in our detriment as black women.
Wow. So basically what dude is saying, because I think it's like an overload of independence online and social media where everybody's talking about, I don't need this person, I don't need a man. And,
even before social media, you had plenty of sassy black women out here with the 2-finger snap and the neck roll talking about, I don't need no man. I'm a strong, independent black woman.
But I thought a lot of people, me personally, I think a lot of women did want to get married. And like now, to me, like everybody's like, just have this thing with marriage. Like, oh, like you're a servant. I ain't gonna be no man's servant and this and that. And they just taking it all out of context because that's not what marriage is about. People are throwing rocks at something that they know nothing about, like, because you never been married. Because if you go into a marriage, like, I don't think nobody go into a marriage like, I'm gonna be this person's servant or this and that. Everybody have goals.
Ask a Muslim woman that question, she'll beg to differ in a lot of cultures.
But I'm talking about American culture. I don't know. I only know American culture. I don't know other cultures because I haven't lived there in other cultures, and I know they're raised to be like servient to the male or whatever. But here in America, I think most of it comes from like when you go into marriage, it's partnership because of inflation, a lot of other dynamics now. The male used to, you can go back and people are like, oh, I remember the day when the guy used to take care of his whole family on paycheck, this and that. Those days are gone unless you're extra successful. And even the extra successful, like if you make 100, you 6 figures, 200,000 in your household, like as the male, yeah, you could, depending on how you live, you'll see that ain't really no money. And, other people that never had that type of money will definitely beg to differ. They'll be like, well, if I had 200,000 in my house, so I could do this, that, and the third. But that's speaking from a point of not having that. Because once you get it, there's a lot of responsibility and you change your lifestyle and that money doesn't go that far. So it's a partnership. You really need 2 incomes in a sense. Unless, like I said, something happens, you 7 figures or high 6 figures and stuff like that, and you live below your means of making that money, yeah, you can do it. But is the woman willing to be a housewife? Are women today willing to be housewives?
Listen, if I could be a housewife, I would. I hate working, and I don't want to work. If I had my own business, that would be completely different. I hate working for someone. I hate it. I've hated it for years. And everybody could be like, oh, why? You know, you're supposed to do what you love. Yeah. That's all well and good. But how many people are doing what they love? You know, so no, I hate working. And I would much rather, I would be a housewife if I had, you know, the means to do so. But back to the topic at hand, I have to say that, yes, Black women are raised to be independent. Our mothers and grandmothers were looking at it in a sense of they didn't want us to have to be dependent, but they also didn't want us to be in a position where, you know, like our grandmothers were. And like Rick said, when a man could work and a woman could stay home and raise 6 kids on one salary. But at the same time, those women a lot of times had to deal with things that, you know, in today's society, a woman doesn't have to deal with. You know, your grandmothers had to deal with, you know, Pop having another family across town, and everybody knew it. Everybody knew it. And you looked like a fool in the whole thing, but you had no means to be able to take care of yourself. So consequently, you raised your daughters to never be in that position, which is a good thing, yeah. But at the same time, instead of teaching them to be independent, you also have to teach your sons not to be disrespectful to their mates. And you also have to teach women how to be in a relationship with someone. It goes both ways. You can't raise your daughters to be independent and then when they're the old cat lady at 50, wonder what happened. But at the same time, you're raising your sons to be husbands, to be taken care of. This is how a woman is supposed to treat you. This is how a woman is supposed to take care of you. And, you know, where is the, okay, you're teaching your son how to be a husband, but where is the, okay, how to be a good husband, how to be a decent man, how to be a decent human being, period. Because you could be a good husband, but like I said, but you have another family across town and you're juggling all these other things and you wilding out and acting crazy and actually doing a disservice to both your families. But you were raised that way. So how do you know any better? Because you watched your grandfather do it, your great-grandfather do it. So in the Black community, our families have suffered immensely because we don't teach our sons to be decent human beings, and we don't teach our wives and women to be not subservient, so to speak, but how to be in a relationship and be a companion, a partner, a lover, a friend, a confidant, and all of those good things. And again, this is a mess in our communities.
But I'm going to give you a little pushback on being taught to be a decent human being as the male. Like, because I don't feel like that makes you not a decent human being if you like say for instance, like whatever you call it, cheat. If you cheat and whatever, that doesn't make you like a terrible. That gives you a flaw, but that doesn't make you a terrible human being. Because I know people that actually coexist with a relationship, having multiple relations. They may not, the females might not like it, but they coexist because God taking care of both of them.
So then in turn, the woman is still suffering then.
You can't really call her, I don't really call it suffering if you okay with it. If you're okay with something. They're not
okay with it, but they're putting up with it for whatever result.
I think that at this point and these years go on, I think it's a thing of I'm okay with it. And, you know, that's a whole nother dynamic. Just like they got girls out here, you know, they got gay girls out here. It's like 3 of them in a house. But when it's a guy, it's like looked upon as crazy. But they got girls out here, they live in, and this is stuff that I know personally on both ends. I'm talking from all ends. Like it's not like something I know girls 3 in the house, and that's how they living. You know, and I know that
in this day and age, the polyamorous thing is being dealt with, but it's definitely not done in tradition.
You know, it's not our normal. But Mike, my normal is not somebody else's normal. You know what I'm saying? So I can't really. But that's a little bit off the circle. We going into polygamy and all this and that. But what we're talking about here, and I think what young people need to hear. Like, and I hope this podcast reach young people because it's so rapid and it just the way they talk. Like it'd be girls online talking about, oh, he got me. I'm me. I'm beautiful. You know, he should be happy. I'm not doing anything, and this and that. Like you're not domesticated. You can't cook. You can't do nothing. So like, what is your worth? If you think like beauty is a value to a person, yeah, it'll get you through some doors. It'll get you hooked up. But also remember, beauty expires. And so does everything else. Like, if you're a terrible human being and you talking like this, like one time I seen something with, I don't need to buy him a present. Like, he got me and this and that and da. Like, and then we could go back into other perspectives. Like, people allow certain things. Like, people want things from their mate. And this is another thing that we know about from a young person that we know, that feel like, yo, hey, I do everything for her, but she does nothing for me. Now, what's going on with that? Like, I do everything for her, but she does nothing for me, but you continue to stay in a relationship.
Yeah, this goes back to, like we've talked about before, how, a lot of women in today's society think that their presence is enough. And that's a result of the social media pandemic of social media being the false narrative to a lot of people who think that, yes, you're supposed to take care of me like a man did back in the days while I do nothing in today's world. So you want a yesterday man, but you want to be a today's woman, so to speak. And no, that's not going to work. It's going to be short-lived, and eventually you're going to build up a lot of resentment, and there's going to be a lot of problems down the road. There's going to be a lot of arguing, a lot of talking behind the backs, and all of that. But, it's a sad day when, black women have to feel like the only way that they can be in a relationship is if, they behave a certain way or they don't behave a certain way. When in reality, every day you should be striving to be your best self. You should be, the best man you could be, the best woman you could be every day. And you're not being the best person you could be by being with someone and saying, my presence is enough, or by saying you don't need anyone because you make your own money. That sounds good when you're making money. But like I said, when you're the 53-year-old cat lady and you're wondering what happened because you don't have nobody.
Everybody's taken now.
And everybody's taken.
Yeah, you're online talking about ain't no good men.
And
they gone. They off the market.
Right, because you didn't need no man when you was in your prime of life and working your 6-figure job, and you didn't need no man. And then you're childless and you're going through this and that, or you wanted to you want to wait until the time is perfect when there is no perfect time, or you were going to wait until, you were making 6 and 7 figures and then you'll settle down instead of just going with the flow of life.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people, friends and family, condemn me for having my children young. But now I have a bunch of other family members who don't have any children and are struggling to have children. And now I'm lucky because I had my children young. And, even with us back in the day, I was raised to not raised to be someone's wife. I didn't used to cook for Rick. I didn't cook for nobody. I didn't do none of the shit that so-called, the traditional woman did. My maternal grandmother used to school me and my girl cousins on how to be a good wife and how to do things. And again, we're in that societal stage of, I don't want to hear that. I ain't cooking for nobody. I ain't doing this. And, I heard the way my grandfather used to talk to my grandmother at times, and we would be like, she does everything for you and you still talk to her crazy. So yes, in our minds, we're seeing, okay, I'm not doing what my grandmother did to do all this stuff for a guy and then he still talk crazy to me. Well, there's a whole bunch of other stuff in their relationship that we didn't know about.
Exactly.
So, it's easy to say those things, when you're a child. When you're a child, you're going to think and act and speak like a child. But when you're an adult and you come to realize that these people had their own dynamics, their own struggles, their own ways of doing things. But to my point, my grandmother did not have a college degree. My grandmother didn't have a high school diploma. She was dependent on my grandfather. And my grandfather was one of those men who had another woman and family on the West Coast. And that aunt had the same name as my mother. So in the end, yes, he chose my grandmother and chose to raise his 6 children with her. But again, you still did a disservice to your other family and your other daughter.